Hey guys, I thought it'd be really helpful to share with you on video how I'm recovering the bench seat of the rattan vanity that I shared not too long ago for Thrift Score Thursday. The seller actually said, hey baby, the seller actually said that the seat was actually reupholstered recently, and I do believe it. I mean, everything looks pretty fresh. It looks like it's in great shape. I can see the wood is in good condition. And what I'm actually going to do is just put the fabric straight over the existing seat because the shape is already pretty good. And honestly, if the shape's already good, I don't want to bother with having to reshape these curves. So what I've got here, I've got staples. I've got a staple gun, and this one is not automatic. This is a manual staple gun, but I don't have a ton of strength and I'm having no problem working with it. So if you've got one, just work with it. I've also got scissors. These are my favorite scissors in the world. You're probably gonna hear me talk about them all the time. My mom bought them for me. They're Fiskars. They cut through everything. So what I'm actually gonna do, I've got fabric. This is a shibori print fabric from minted.com. And what I'm gonna do is just kind of get an idea for which way I want the fabric to go. I don't know yet. Kind of taking a look at things, see if I want it to run horizontally across the seat. If I run it this way, horizontal, that's kind of what I would get out of it. And if I run it this way, I get a whole lot more lines. It's a little bit busier, but it's still a pretty clean patterned fabric. So that's probably the way that I'm going to go so that I can get more of those lines. You can probably see in the outskirts of the shot here that I have a purple rug, so I'm getting like little purple threads all over the place. That's fine. The more I look at it, the more I think I may actually want to go horizontal with the fabric. Yep, I think that's what I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do is flip it over and just make sure that I'm giving myself enough fabric on all sides. And you'll see with these fabrics there's actually a white border. The print itself is a certain width and length on the piece of canvas. So you want to make sure you're not actually getting any of that white and any visible spots. So I'm going to cut right along this line of shibori here. I like things in my life to be a little organic and I guess not perfect. So if you want your pattern to sit a specific way on the top, you'll have to play with it a little bit more. You can pin the fabric to the existing fabric and kind of keep pulling back and forth until you got it where you like and then do your cut. But for me, I just really enjoy an imperfect look. So that is going to do for me. The only thing I'm truly worried about is the lines being straight across the top. I don't want them to be crooked, I want them to be straight. So I'm going to do a little bit of playing back and forth to make sure it's as straight as I can get it. And I'm going to go ahead and staple. Two of these down just to kind of hold things in place for the moment. And pull this side tight. Double check that I like the way things look on this other side. that looks really good for me. You know, again, make sure things look good for you. I really love the look of shibori, and I was lucky enough to have the chance to get some fabric from minted.com, and I saw the shibori. I was like, yeah, that's gonna have to come home, and I'm gonna have to find a way to use that. And this stool is just gonna be the perfect little touch. It's a staple gun. Again, flipping over to keep checking. These lines are running pretty good. So now that I've got that the way I want it, I'm going to come back to these sides and do a row of staples just to hold that real secure. With a thinner fabric, this is by no means thin fabric, but with thinner fabrics that don't hold their shape as well as something like a leather, like I did with my retro wrought iron chairs, you're going to want to do a good length of staples to hold that fabric in place so that there's no rips and tears at the points at the staples, because otherwise you're just going to ruin all of your hard work, and that is not a fun place to be. I'm going to go ahead and cut off some of this extra so we have less bunched up on the underside. Mine just plops in and out of mine, but I did notice with the chairs that I reupholstered that the bunching kind of made things sit a little wonky. So if I could recommend one thing, it would be to make sure you minimize the amount of bunched up fabric on the underside. And again, it's the underside, so I'm not concerned at all with how these cuts look. And now that I've got that down, I'm going to lean it against my body so that I can use my body to hold this, because it is beveled, curved on the sides. It's wobbly, and especially because I'm using a manual staple gun, I want to give myself as much stability as possible. Back in and do this side now. Flipping, checking, smoothing. And I'm going to flip over and do the same thing to this side. Now that I've got the two sides stapled down pretty good, I'm happy with the way it looks on the top. I'm going to come back in and do these long sides. And I'm going to need to fold the edges and make sure I'm in a spot you can see this happening in. I'm going to keep that side flat and kind of tuck with my fingers while pulling this side over. So I'm not entirely happy with that. Okay, so I am happy with where that's sitting. That's coming out a little bit far right there, but I'm going to cut the excess off. Now that that's in place, I'm going to go ahead and do a couple more staples. I'll get about halfway and then I'll start tucking and stapling this side, doing the same on all four corners. I've finished up the sides here. I've got all of the corners folded down. In the top, I've checked several times. It is still running mostly horizontal. I'm happy, and hopefully these few simple tips and visualization helps you do your own. And I'm gonna go put mine in my vanity now.